the light down? Okay. That better?
Yeah.
Okay. Um, You want to start it on? Because somebody's got to do the intro.
What are we just saying whiskey and wine?
Unless you want to say something different.
Well, I don't. Are we saying what our names are?
Well, I mean, because somebody's got to say what our names are.
You started. You do it.
This is the Wine and Whiskey podcast. Or the Book of the Month podcast.
We are adults, and we will say adult things. So if you are below the age of 18, you might not want to be on here.
Might want to be on here.
We're not for you.
It's the Book of the Month Club, and we're starting with the Fourth Wing series.
And we are going to do books 1 and 2 pretty quickly because book 3 is coming out in January, which I'm excited about.
And then after we get done with book 3, we'll just pick out random books that we have and do that book that month. And just go from there.
And not all of them are going to be fantasies. So there'll be a good mix of different genres.
Yeah. Considering they're both very different things for it. So, yeah, that's it. So, Fourth Wing.
Yeah.
Written by Rebecca Yards.
Very good book. Love it, love it, love it.
That you have read and listened to 100 different times. And I'm trying to read. So there's going to be spoilers because you're not going to be able to keep your mouth shut.
I'm going to do my best not to.
So we're doing what, chapters 1 through 12?
Yeah.
Trying to break down each chapter?
Yeah. Now with the spoiler that was, that we released, we figured out that we were taking way too long. So, we're going to give just a brief, as quickly as possible, rundown of each chapter. And then we'll choose one thing that stands out to each of us. So, two different things in each chapter.
Unless we hit a chapter that's got a lot of stuff in it.
Well, I thought that's why we were just doing...
Well, yeah, there's going to be rundowns. So, because you've got, 3 and 4 where there's not a lot of things happening for it. So, who knows? We'll see.
Fingers crossed we'll get through it pretty quickly. And we don't sit here for too long trying to get it done. All depends on how many times we have to stop.
Chapter 1 summary.
Alrighty. So, conscription day is always the deadliest. It's when those who pass the entrance exam to Best Guide War College enters their chosen quadrants. General Lilith Sorengel is over the college. She is also Violet's mother, and despite being trained for the scribe quadrant her entire life, the general decided about 6 months ago Violet is going to enter the writer's quadrant. Mira, Violet's sister, argues with their mother, hoping to change the general's mind because Violet has physical restraints that make everyone believe Violet will die in the writer's quadrant. Violet feels that through the argument between Mira and their mother, they are pretty much just listing her flaws. We learn that Violet had a brother, also a writer, who died 5 years ago during the Tirish Rebellion, and her father, a scribe, started having heart problems right after, then died a few years later. General Sorengel ends the argument with Mira after Mira asks her if she's really that eager to bury another child. The general has a conversation with Violet, where she tells Violet she'll do just fine. All Sorengels do just fine. And that she will not be able to acknowledge Violet until after graduation. She also warns Violet that she might have it a little bit harder because she is the general's daughter. After being dismissed, Mira takes Violet back to Violet's room that the general has already had boxed up, and it's been about 30 minutes since he left her room. So Mira does say that their mother is efficient.
She's gotta be. She's the general.
And Mira goes through Violet's rucksack to make it lighter for Violet, disregarding anything Mira deems unnecessary. Specifically, she's removing all of Violet's books that she packed, except for one book about poisons and killing people. Mira tells Violet that she can keep that book. Mira has Violet change into clothes, boots, and an armored vest that Mira had made for her out of dragon scales that she collected from her dragon, Tiny. While Violet changes clothes, Mira gives her advice on how to survive in the Rider's Quadrant. Then has Violet sit in front of her so that she can braid Violet's hair. Mira reminds Violet that she is the smartest person she knows and tells her to outsmart them. Mira tells Violet to wear the armor and her daggers that Mira sheaths into her vest at all times. Mira also tells Violet to find Dane Atos, Violet's childhood best friend. While waiting to get to the roll keeper table, Violet sees a marked one. The leaders of the Tirish Rebellion were killed, and their children were marked with relics, marking them as the separatist kids, and were conscripted to the Rider's Quadrant as punishment for their parents' crimes. This reminds Mira to warn Violet to stay away from Zayden Ryerson. At the roll keeper's table, Captain Fitzgibbons remarks that he thought Violet was slated for the Scribe Quadrant, and after finding out that the general decided otherwise, he says, "Pity, you've had great promise." The rider next to Captain Fitzgibbons recognizes Mira, and Violet notes the hero worship and can hear comments of others who realize who Mira is. Before Violet leaves Mira, Mira tells Violet not to make friends, only forge alliances, and tells Violet, don't die. She doesn't want to be an only child. On the way up the stairs to the parapet, Violet meets Rihanna and Dylan. Violet switches her left boot with Rihanna's to give her better traction due to the storm that is rolling in. At the top of the steps, Violet comes face to face with a cadet who looks like an artist worked a lifetime sculpting him and spent a year on his neck.
You love the description side of this, don't you?
I do. She does such a good job at, the details, and she is so descriptive with everything. It's wonderful. But it is Zayden Ryerson. And after they acknowledge that Violet's mother captured and oversaw the execution of his father, and that Zayden's father killed Violet's brother, Zayden raises an eyebrow at realizing that Violet and Ree met on the steps, but they're wearing each other's left boot. Dylan, he falls off the parapet and restarts across, telling Vi she will see her on the other side. Zayden tells Violet why would he waste his energy killing her when the parapet will do it.
Parapet, the bridge to get across that everybody dies on. Such a long bridge.
Well, clearly it's not that long, but it is like 200 feet above.
Sudden death. You slide once, you're dead for life. Or now, this is voluntary, right? Except for Violet and marked ones. It's all voluntary.
Yeah.
You don't have to. You're not forced to go into it.
Because it is so dangerous. So, what in this chapter do you?
Well, I mean, outside of the fact that she's being forced into it, the fact that she's not taking any of her sister's advice. I mean, she's already making friends for it. She makes friends with Rihanna.
She made friends with Dylan.
Yeah.
And
that don't last very long.
No, but she still is affected when he falls.
Yeah.
And Zayden is watching her react to Dylan falling.
She's already made an enemy straight out of the gate with him at this time.
Yeah.
For it. He's
assumed to be an enemy right out of the gate. I don't think that he is. I think that the possibility for them to be enemies was there. But I think seeing that he has Ree's boot, it makes him pause. And then watching her reaction to seeing Dylan fall makes him
pause too.
Yeah, and makes him think that he at least deserves a chance, you know?
She's definitely falling for him, though.
Oh, there is definitely a physical attraction right away. I mean, to describe him as an artist having worked an entire lifetime sculpting him and a year on his mouth is...
That mouth is so important out of all the features that he's got.
I mean...
If this turns into a TV show, they're going to have really hard getting the guys to play.
I don't think so. I mean, I could see the guy that played in Bridgerton, the Duke and I could see him making a great Zayden. And there's a few other people that I could see making a great Zayden, you know?
But her family, I mean, her mom's a general at the college, right? Her dad's dead. He was a scribe.
Yeah.
For it.
Yeah. And he was training her to be a scribe from the time she was able to read and write and all that. So.
And then she's forced into the writing. For it. And it's the weakness there that because she's not trained at all, and then her body's just physically weak, is a killer.
Yeah, but at the same time, though, I mean, she's defying all odds. You know, I mean, that's an obvious given considering we've already got 2 books out. She's the main character.
Like, she's not going to die. She's the main character.
Exactly.
but you just get to see the story of how it unfolds for through who did because there's a scribe that this is transcribed from.
Yeah. Justinia Neilworth. And she becomes the curator for the scribe quadrant. And then I want to say something, but it would give a spoiler. And I don't want to do that. So we'll come back to Justinia.
Come back to her.
Yeah. Oh. So yeah. But I think that the general is an interesting character.
And why is that?
Because she is putting Violet through the writer's quadrant, knowing what her physical limitations are, and knowing that she has spent her entire life training to be a scribe. And her mother makes a comment that she's just like her father, and so she has all these reasons why Violet should go into the writer's quadrant, but she puts her into, or all these reasons why Violet should go into the scribe quadrant, but yes, she's putting her in the writer's quadrant, and I mean, mothers know their children, so she knows what she's capable. She obviously thinks that she's capable of surviving.
Yeah, but how much is that for legacy? Or her mom's a writer, her brother was a writer, and her sister is a writer. So how much is it the legacy of that whole family being writers?
I mean,
because you always hear more of the legacy of the guy. The guy wants his son to do this. He wants his son to do this. He wants his son to do this. How much of it could be the legacy that she's wanting to leave behind?
So, if General Sorrengail is looking to leave a legacy, why would she put Violet into the writer's quadrant in the first place? I mean, given her limitations, she's already got Mira, who is a well-known writer throughout the country. She's already received medals for her actions that she took in a I don't know, I guess we could call it a battle, in a situation. So if she's looking for a legacy to be left behind, she already has it in Mira.
Yeah, but her parent dies.
She already has it in Brennan, who has passed away.
Yeah, so he's passed away early, so he's not going to leave much of anything for her name. Or if Mira happens to pass pretty quickly, then your last hope is the last daughter.
Yeah, but I mean, you don't have to survive for very long to make a mark, and a lasting legacy. Mira has already become well known for her action and her talent, So, as far as having a legacy, I already got that in her daughter Mira,
Yeah.
So, she doesn't need Violet for that.
Okay.
If you really think about it from that aspect, she doesn't need Violet.
I mean, it could just be her death or her husband being a scribe and then being dead. She doesn't want to have to visit that area.
Possibly.
To see her.
Possibly. But at the same time, though, if she didn't think that Violet would make it, she could have chosen another quadrant. She could have forced her to go into the healers or forced her to go into infantry.
Yeah.
But she's making her go into the hardest quadrant. The most dangerous. So, clearly, Herman thinks that she could, at least hold her own. And Her mother even tells her, um, or she says during the argument with Mira that Violet deals with more pain before lunch than Mira deals with in a week.
Yeah.
If any of her daughters can make it through the Writer's Quadrant, it's safe. So
it could be the fact that she's being trained to describe, so the mental knowledge of all that compared with the physicality of a writer.
Well, she's definitely very knowledgeable.
Yeah.
Mira even says that she's a mistress.
It just adds an extra layer to her being a writer for it.
But I do find her to be interesting because she's known as being very cold, very merciless. But at the same time, though, you just gotta wonder what is going through. How she put her that group.
Yeah.
And only having given her 6 months to prepare when her other children got their entire lives. So I think that I think she's very interesting. And then she controls storms, and there's a storm coming through. And she doesn't stop it.
Yeah, but she's not. You don't want to. You can't show up favor for your daughter coming across, so she can't stop it.
No, but I do wonder if she didn't purposefully have it start when Violet's going through parapet. And then another, thought that I had was, perhaps the storm, because her mother does control the weather. I wonder if it's not her grieving. The storm is a manifestation of her emotion. And her, her worry, her reality that there's a really good chance that Violet isn't going to make it.
Yeah.
Statistically, she shouldn't.
But I mean, if that's her worry, she should have never sent her there in the first place.
True. But it is a interesting thought that maybe the storm is, her worry and her.
I can see it being her worry rather than her creating the storm for her to go across for it. Because it's your daughter. You can't be that rude.
It's just interesting that the storm starts just before Violet goes across and ends just after she gets across.
The worrying makes more sense than her creating it for it.
Yeah.
But you would think with her being a general, she'd have control of her signet power.
Yeah, but at the same time, though, when she was having an argument with Mira, and Mira mentions Brennan, her brother, the room gets old.
Yeah.
So her signet is
very emotional based.
Yeah. And I mean, knowing that your daughter is going through your baby, because Violet's the youngest, that's her baby. And she's about to be going through, this very dangerous place.
That she had the option of not sending it to.
Very true.
Which carries us to chapter.
Yeah. Alright. So.
You have that summary ready?
I do. The wise mantra. And we hear this throughout the book. I will not die today. That is the very first sentence in this chapter.
Plagiarizing already.
No, I'm not plagiarizing. I'm saying that it's the very first in this book. Um, and it's such a big part of the book.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's her will to live.
Yeah.
So she gets why Mara warned her not to make friends. And being asked, as in General Sorrengill, is already getting old. uh, and then we are introduced to Jack fucking Barlow.
It takes what I mean, we both know, but we gotta give everybody an idea of why you're saying straight out like I hate this guy.
Well, we are saying that because he asks Vi if she needs a little motivation, and he lunges at her, causing her to quickly get out onto the parapet. And then she's obviously scared out of her mind.
Mm-hmm.
She's been scared pretty much the whole day, but she needs to calm down. So what does she do? Given that she's been trained to be a scribe, she remembers what her father told her, that her mind already knows the answers, and she just needs to calm down and let it remember.
Mm-hmm.
And the archives is the most calm place that she knows, so she starts reciting facts.
So right bookworm and just starts reciting facts.
Hey, whatever does it for you.
I'll calm myself down and I'll start quoting facts.
So she starts to calm down. She takes a moment to see where Jack is. And she looks back and she sees him stopped at the corner. And then he grabs a cadet or a candidate that was behind him and throws him off the parapet. And then tells Vi that she's, he's already marked her.
He's already got one body under his belt.
Yep. So Vi starts moving. She slips. Her knee slams into the stone. And then Jack continues to taunt Vi as they're moving across the parapet. Vi makes it to the other side. Jack lunges for her as she's jumping off the elevated part of the platform down into the courtyard. And she spins around real quick, grabbing one of her daggers that she has sheathed into her vest, and presses it right against Jack's. I love that. Let's see here. And then, he's sitting there taunting her. You think that you're going to be safe there, blah, blah, blah. And given that she is the bookworm that she is, starts quoting the Codex and stating to him that it's illegal for him to harm her because they are in a formation and in the presence of superior ranking cadets, blah, blah, blah. And Jack being Jack, that he doesn't care. And he starts to, move towards her, but she holds her ground and her knife slices through a layer of this. Hey, come on. When are you seriously gonna try and do something when a woman has a knife against her back?
Well, nobody would, but
He is just he's murdery. So one of the things that I love about her is that she then tells him that he might want to reconsider because he might slip. You know? So there's this male cadet that comes up behind them, and he's sitting there. Well, it looks like Cadet Sorgel has you by the balls in more ways than one. And he makes it clear to Jack that he can't touch Vine.
Mhm.
If he does, then he's just going to be killed, So his hopes of being a wing leader one day, would be out the window.
Yeah.
And then, Vi has to make the decision to either continue with what she's doing or letting him go, and she does decide to let him go. And Jack informs her that he is going to kill her.
This is the second person that wants her dead.
Yeah.
And she should have killed him. Or at least chopped off his balls.
Yes, she should have.
Or it would have set him aside for several chapters.
Yeah.
Or just like when she has him by the balls, she should have went ahead and cut him straight off.
Mm-hmm.
Him going out and instantly killing as soon as he gets in, like he's not following that codex to the rules like it's supposed to be, unless there's somebody else present.
I mean, technically, he hasn't, or he has been following it. He starts to break it, or he indicates that he wants to break it, but
He would break it any time he had the chance.
possibly, I could see it. He's just a murdery guy. That's just who he is, unfortunately. Um,
No, what got me in this chapter is the lack of dragon for it.
well, I haven't gotten there yet.
Or, yeah, but they talk about how there's the least. This is one of the least amount. This is the one of the year's least amount of dragons, where the cadets are all the same coming in, which is really interesting because if the dragons are dwindling down on coming back out, why?
We'll figure that out in the next.
I don't want to wait till the next one.
You told me not to give you spoilers.
I know. So all my stuff's just theory.
Yeah. So we need to hurry up and get through this so that we can get to book 2 so that we can actually, start,
There's a lack of dragons.
and telling you why all your theories are not right.
My theory is because they're all marked, and the dragons are the ones that mark them.
So, General Mel Dragon is the one that, according to chapter 1, it wasn't multiple dragons, it was.
Yeah, like you have the one dragon that's marked, and all the other dragons see it, and then you have all these kids showing up that are marked.
But at the same time, though, these marked kids, they're bonding to dragons.
Yeah.
So that's not really an argument.
Well, for the ones that show up.
Well, they all have to show up. Well, the marked ones, the dragons get.
Right, the dragons get to choose. So, I mean, like, the marked ones could not have been chosen because it's up to the dragon to choose its rider.
Yeah.
So, it could have just been the fact that, maybe they like the dragons or the dragons that saw a bunch of them being marked that were bonded with those riders. Or the fact that some of their riders were the ones on the wrong, or on the other side, and they were the ones that were killed.
So all of the marked ones, their parents
Right.
were a part of the leadership or the Tirish rebellion.
Right.
In fact, Zayden, his father, was the leader of it.
Mm-hmm. But so far they don't tell you how many of those ones that were killed were riders.
That is true.
So, like, with the lack of dragons, it could be the fact that those dragons aren't ready to come back out because they're seeing their riders' kids come in. And they're marked, and they don't want to be involved with losing those riders again. Because it's a bond on both sides. If you have a heavy bond, they run the risk of themselves dying.
The dragon?
The dragon. If it's a very strong bond.
It also depends on how powerful the dragon is. Not all dragons are as powerful.
So, I mean, you have that plays a factor in it as well. Despite not reading the second book yet because I'm not there.
So, to quote Professor Fiore, I think it is. Let me double check to make sure that I'm saying the right professor.
What was that professor's name? Is it the professor over all the knowledge of the dragons?
Yeah.
Tells you how to talk to them and everything.
Yeah. Let's see.
How to walk up on them, how to walk away from them.
Yeah. Let's see here. I think it's here.
I don't know how to pronounce any of these names, and with the alcohol that we're drinking, I'm not pronouncing it correctly anyways.
Let's see here. Yes, Fiore. To quote him, dragons do not see fit to tell humans why they choose what they choose.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, have it quoted perfectly, but
Refired.
the dragons, they don't care to give their reasons for what they do. So,
well, I'm giving them reasons. So, fair.
But
yeah, that's what got me in that chapter. If there's the lack of dragons, why is there a lack of dragons?
Well, I mean, because we haven't gotten to the dragons part.
It's not fair. It's not fair.
Okay.
Baiting somebody that's already read all the other books.
The others of our friends and family that have read this aren't part of it, because you would absolutely just be so mad at us because we'd be sitting there starting a sentence and stopping, and then we would know exactly what was going on and having a broken debate to try and figure what we're, talking about so you don't have any spoilers given away.
What's your takeaway from this chapter?
No big surprise. I love that I was, confident enough in herself to hold her ground against Jack.
Yeah.
She proved herself with the Codex.
She's maybe one of like 5 people in this first group that actually studied and memorized the Codex.
I mean, she went to she was studying to be a scribe.
Yeah.
You know?
For it. I mean, because it's like it seems that the Codex is a general guideline that could be enforced, but everybody pretty much does their own.
Oh, yeah.
It's like a set of rules that you're supposed to follow, but there's more unwritten rules that you follow. So
I don't know if I'd say that there's unwritten rules. I mean,
like they have a hair thing in the Codex, but nobody follows it.
no. There's nothing.
Because there was a big thing about several of the girls having pink hair or different colored hair and spiked and everything. Like that. I mean, it's like a manual, but nobody follows the manual.
Well, conformity is not for right. You know, they can have their uniforms done however they want, as long as, it's black. Um, and they can wear their hair however they want. Now, most of them do cut it short, but that's because of the
Grappling and everything else that comes into play.
Yeah.
For it.
So.
But no, she definitely has a good, strong sense of.
Yes. Definitely would agree with you.
And I think that's going to cause issues. For.
Yes.
Like, it's definitely going to cause issues going into this where everybody's killing each other. For it. I mean, the goal is to get a dragon and get the dragon to believe that you're worthy of being ridden, riding it. So.
And fewer cadets means better chances to get a dragon.
I mean, like, she should have killed Jack straight out of the gate.
Yeah. Should have.
For it. Her morals are going to be a big help, but also her biggest hindrance outside of her physical problems.
Yeah. So, would you like to move on to chapter 3?
Yeah, let's see what chapter 3 is.
So, Vi acknowledges internally that she has a list of people who want to kill her. And once all of the drama calms down, Ree comes up and hugs her, and, is all excited because they make, they head to a bench so that they can switch boots, and Vi literally runs into Dane. And, we know that her and Dane have known each other for years and are the best of friends, and, her family looks, at him as someone to turn to, or at the very least Mara does. And Vi, he describes him as having gone from attractive and cute to gorgeous.
She definitely has a crush on
Oh yeah, and she's had it for years.
Yeah, but at this time it is not reciprocated.
I think it is.
I don't. At this time right now, I don't think it is. I think he feels more like he's got to be a big brother to her.
I think he thought that at one time, but I think at this particular moment, I think that he is very much.
And I don't think so yet.
I'm gonna stick to he's in love with her and move on. So he is shocked to see her in the Writer's Quadrant. And he is moving her to an alcove and a wall that is out of sight from everybody. Because Vi is having, some issues. She's got adrenaline that's rushing through her. She was almost killed, She's got some, stuff that she's got to deal with, at the moment.
Busted her knee to hell.
Yeah. So he's trying to get her out of everybody's sight. Um, and he's wanting to help her calm down, all that good stuff. Um, and he tells he sees Bree, and he's all, "Who are you?" And if anybody asks you what's going on with Vi, tell them it's just adrenaline. And Vi, and Ree, being the wonderful character that she is you know it's nobody's business what's wrong with Vi, so I ain't gonna tell anybody anything. Um, and to try and get her away from him and Vi, he tells her um his squad info and tells her to go and find the role keeper, and or tell the role keeper that Dane wants the two of them in his section.
Mhm.
And then he takes Vi to his room, and is helping her get to his room, which is breaking the rule because Vi is not supposed to be in his room, which I find interesting that he is willing to break that rule.
Compared to everything else that he does.
Yeah. Um,
I think that's because of the fact that he wants her out.
yeah.
He spends so much of his time trying to get her out.
hmm
I think at this start, because he's already talked about trying to get her out and into the scribe.
In this chapter.
Yeah. And he's willing to break that rule
hmm
because it helps him try to get her out of the writers.
Yeah. So when they get into his room, she notices that he has a book that she gave him before he left for in his, and it gives her a little warm fuzzy.
So she has that question.
Yep. Um, and Vi wraps her knee that is swollen and all of that good stuff. And while they're getting to the room and is in the room, she's teasing him, and it makes his cheeks blush.
Just like every girl does to every guy to make time.
I think that's one of the one of the little telltale signs that he is in love with her. Um, Dane tells Vi that he's going to take her to the Scribe Quadrant, and they have an argument about her ability to make it in the Writer's Quadrant. Um, and, she also points out to him that this wasn't her choice, it was her mother's choice. If she goes to the Writer's Quadrant, we will yank her out, back over to the Writer's Quadrant, all that good.
Yeah, and even then, I still don't think it actually sinks into him. Like, he hears her say it, but I don't think it sinks.
Yeah. I mean, he is so focused on trying to get her every time he turns around. But he acts like he's understanding. He acts like he's understanding what's happening here, and he returns her to the courtyard, and she finds Bree. Um, and then everything starts. And all of the first years are divided up into their respective sections, and Vi and Ree are put into sections. But Zayden talks to the roll keeper, and he has Dane's entire section, not just Violet, but all of them, including Dane, moved to his wing. Uh, and Zayden, he is a wing leader, so he has a speech that he gives. And during the speech, a riot of 8 dragons land on the walls of the courtyard, and Violet describes it as being and that is why it is so big. Um, a few cadets do take off running, and the dragons incinerate them. And there is a gigantic blue dragon that is sitting there scrutinizing Violet. And then, after Violet lifts her chin and internally she's, I'm not going to down. She stands her ground. Yeah. The dragon blinks and looks away. Zayden finishes the speech, which, listening to the speech that he gives, it makes you wonder if he isn't specifically talking to Vi. Especially when he says, nobody cares who your mom or dad is.
You can read into this because you've read this whole book and you've listened to this book several hundreds of thousands of times. And you've also read the second book. You've also read the second book and listened to it several hundred times for it. So you know what's coming.
Yes. But at the same time, though, that being said, I even thought that whenever I first read it, I wonder if he's not talking to her specifically.
Yeah, I don't think so, because you have so many people that are there for it. And outside of Violet, you've got Dane, whose parents are, her mom's work directly for her. You've got all these other people that are there because their parents are writers. That's what they want to do.
He even says, even King Tari's second son died during his history.
So, I mean, it's not just the fact that he could be talking directly to her. It's just there's a lot of people that are like, I am part of this family who is this set for it. And at this point, none of that matters because you are all on the same level.
Except I'm arguing your argument that he wants to kill her.
Well, he does want to kill her. As of right now, he still wants to kill her.
So it would make sense that he's saying this speech directly to
her. But I think that changes in this chapter as well when his dragon shows for it, because the navy blue dragon is this. And I think that she tells him what the plan is for it, for everything that happens. And starts to change his mind on her.
We will see.
I think he has a lot. I think he communicates a lot with his dragon.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I think he communicates a lot with his dragon more than a lot of the other writers do.
Oh, because I think it's the very next chapter, that Dane tells Vi that his dragon, Cat, is always there in his head.
Well, yeah, but that's because of his signet. Because his signet is mind reading.
But even, several chapters down the road.
I mean, but she might be always there in his mind, but I think it's a different version for Zayden and Dane. Where Zayden, with him always in communication with his dragon, is to get information, to share the ideas, to figure out stuff that's going on. Or with Dane, she's just there and he can figure out how to make her shut up. Or Zayden's using the connection to its full potential. But Dane's just like, this is what I want, and you are bothering.
Well, we shall see. Excuse me.
I mean, because up to this point, Zayden definitely wanted to kill her for everything that her mom did to his family. There's definitely a grudge there.
Oh, yeah.
But I think his dragon was like, hey, this is kind of lays out a game plan for him of what could potentially come.
So you're suggesting that Sigil has precognition?
Yeah.
Okay. That's an interesting thought. Anyways, moving on. So Vi realizes.
So we can come back to this. We can come back to this in chapter 12. Or when 12 has the thrashing, right?
13.
13's the thrashing. Well, then that'll be the next episode. So never mind.
Yeah. So we'll revisit it at a later date. But finishing off, Vi realizes that the dragons are there specifically to scare them.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely happens. You go from losing several off of the pamphlet, the bridge coming across, and then another, 7? I think she counted 7 that take off running when the dragons land that die.
I don't know if I even.
I know she was counting.
She what?
She was counting, and I don't remember if she actually came up with the final number of all the ones that had ran and died, or if she lost count because so many were running away from the dragons. Or I'm pretty sure it was 7, but I know she was counting them.
So 15% of candidates usually don't make it past the pyramid.
Yeah. Because she didn't lose any in her squad that was moved. They all came from other squads that had died. Well, I'm pretty sure it was 7 because you had one run instantly.
I didn't take the note down.
I'd have to look back into the book. I'm pretty sure it's at least 7 for it. So I mean, they were definitely there to intimidate them. It's like the one thing that the humans can pull the dragons in to do is to intimidate. I mean, otherwise the dragons wouldn't even show up.
No, oh shoot.
Because you make funny with it.
I was holding on to it.
A little bit later. Anyways, where were we at in this period?
I'm sorry. So, yeah, we finished the summary. Now we need to choose something to talk about in this chapter.
What do you want to talk about? Because I've interjected as we went. And about the only thing I have left is what Dane can do. If he can actually protect her.
Yeah.
So what do you got?
That's pretty much it. I mean, we really, because the only thing that I really have that it feels like Zayden's speeches directly
Pointed at my. Because one other thing I got out of that one was that Dane. I don't think Dane can actually protect her, or he starts to get focused on getting her out. That with people coming after her, I don't think he could actually protect her like Mira thought he was going to do for it. But I mean, he was also away for a year without her.
Yeah.
And
he's changed.
Yeah. He lived through the first year, so he knows what she's fixing to go through, and he doesn't want her to go through that. For it.
Yeah. But at the same time, though, you have to look at a person at the circumstances, There is a lot going on. I has absolutely no control.
No, she doesn't. But that's why I say Dane's position is a big brother. He's just looking at Soul. The only way he can protect her is to get her out.
You could argue the same, logic if you were looking at it from the lens of he wants to be more than just friends.
Yeah, you could, but I mean, He's so focused on getting. He's not focused on anything else but to get.
Agree. So chapter 4, Captain Fitzgibbon, he reads the death at morning formation. After formation is dismissed, Dane bird calls signals to follow him. Ree offers to get Vi's book, borrow their glasses. Excuse me. And Vi follows Dane into the rotunda. He pulls her behind a dragon statue pillar thing. And he starts checking her over, making sure that she's okay. Vi tries to make jokes, but he pretty much has a stick up his butt. And he tells her that she needs to come to Vi, she asks him why the section was moved into Zayden's wing, and Dane tells her because Zayden wants to kill her, and it's common knowledge. Dane tells her keep a low profile, especially in battle brief, which is they all have together. And then suggests getting her a bodyguard, which I found interesting. That was something that I didn't really register until earlier today.
Let's see, I'm wearing a bodyguard.
And she shuts it down immediately,
But she's going to shut it down. Her whole goal is not to make her look weak.
Yeah.
Because she knows her physical traits are going to be an issue. And if she's already got somebody coming in to it, it's not going to help her case out. And at this point, they're still trying to hide the fact that they know each other.
Yeah.
Even though it's more common knowledge than what they think, they're still trying to hide that fact.
Yes. So Vi asks Dane what his signet is, and he tells her that he can read people's recent memories, but he has to put his hands on their he warns Vi that Zayden will be after her, but he will find a way to do it according to the Codex. And then they separate, and Vi goes back out into the main area of the rotunda and realizes Zayden has been watching. And Dane comes out from behind the pillar and sees that Violet is stopped and goes directly to her and asks her what she's doing. Zayden starts talking across the whole entire room and tells them that he already knew that their parents were close, and asks if they have to be so obvious about their relationship. He even starts in, let me get first loves, things like that. And then Zayden starts walking down the steps, and Dane tells him to walk.
Yeah.
So it's not a whole lot going on in that chapter, but what is something that should be pointed out is Dane's
his ability to read minds with it being a touch. At least it's to the temples. For it. Which later on I'll say why. That's for it.
But Dane touches her face a lot too.
But I think that the temples, it being a control for the temples,
Which is the only reason that he's alive, because if he was able to read anyone's mind, without having to physically touch them first, he'd be dead.
Yeah.
So,
What kills me in this chapter, this is the first issue I have with her writing this book, is the way that she leaves this chapter. You go from Dane and Zayden having a stare down, and then you're directly into the classroom in the next chapter. You have no idea what came between him registering that Zayden is sitting there and them being in class for it, and that drives me crazy. Like,
I had to guess, and this is purely guess. I didn't that Zayden got to the very bottom of the steps and walked up to him and said, "Get to," and then
but you mean you have both of her two people that she's crushing on. She's crushing on Zayden because he's so hot. And she's crushing on Dane because she grew up with him and she's always had a crush on him. And they're coming at each other now. And Dane's just like, you need to go. Or like, what happened there? Out of all the buildup that you have to right there, and then you just.
Well, I mean, I have a hard time thinking that Dane is going to actually stand up to Zayden.
Yeah, but you don't know because you never.
That is true. That is very true.
That's the difference between the books that you and I like. That is a build-up moment that's like, oh, let's fix it happen, and nothing. And it's like, oh, we're fixing to have fun. No, we're not.
So, yeah, there wasn't a whole lot that happened in that. So, chapter 5. That'll break. You've got Professor DeVera and Colonel Mir that teach this class. DeVera notices and recognizes who Violet is. And once he, sees and, recognizes her, he whispers something to Community. And his eyes go wide and he's, going directly to where she is. And he gives a
I mean, because he's the one that was in charge of all. He's the one in charge of all the scribes, right?
Yeah.
For it, so he saw her with her dad.
Well,
and then she studied underneath him, didn't she?
And she was his prized pupil.
Yeah.
And he had already decided that she was going to be the one to replace.
But at least she would have dominated the whole system for the scribes.
Yeah.
I mean, she spent her whole life down there.
Yep. And, she was his star pupil. So he was very disappointed by seeing her in the writer's Vi tries to follow Dane's advice of laying.
Yeah, that's not what happened. She didn't follow her sister's advice.
But she actually tried.
She made friends as soon as she got up there.
Oh, no, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about she tried to listen to Dane. She
Yes, because
has a question that she wants to ask in the class, but she tells it to Reed and has re-ask it. But DeVera being...
it backfires. So.
Oh, yeah. I mean, DeVera figured it out right away and is how about next time you ask your own questions, Cadet Sorengale, So that blows up in her and Dane's face pretty quickly. And then during the Q&A, the first years are super rude to each other. And then in the sparring area, Ree, Sawyer, and Vi, they make a deal with each other that they're going to help each other study, or Vi's going to help them study, and they're going to help Vi with Storm.
That's a very interesting deal because you've got two people that can help her learn spar and train for the grappling, but you only have one that can help them study and retain knowledge for it. Like it's in my mind, it's a very interesting deal because it's going to take both of them to help train, and if one of them slacks off, the deal's broken.
Not really.
I mean,
because Sawyer, he says that he thinks that he could offer some tips for Storm. But when we actually get into the chapters that go on about her getting that help, it's from Reed. It's not from Sawyer.
But you never really hear her helping Sawyer study for it.
In chapter 8?
Because Reed helps her and starts training her, and Sawyer's mentioned then, and then he just vanishes into the background.
So in chapter 8, Professor Peori makes the comment that he sees her helping her friend. And he says, friends, plural. So you assume
it, but
Sawyer and Riddick are both a part of that study group, along with Rick.
I mean, Riddick got into it without having to do anything.
Oh, I mean,
he just likes him.
Yeah, he does. But there are other people in the squad that she mentions, briefly. Like when they go to start working on the Gauntlet, there is a character that is mentioned who is very quiet, and Violet says that if the girl hadn't had friends in other sections, she would have been worried about her, but there are other, people in the section that she likes. There's only really 2 people that stand out in my mind that, as far as first years go, that she isn't really a big fan. And that Tynan and Orly, I think is the person's name.
Well, aren't they both the ones hanging out with Jack?
Not Orly. It's not Orly. It's Luca. Luca is the one that she doesn't.
But they're both the ones that are hanging out with Jack, aren't they?
Tynan, he does hang out with Jack, and is, Sawyer is, no. Well, Sawyer doesn't really like him, but Riddick, who is essentially the class clown, actually starts going off at him in one of the chapters. I think it's chapter 12 that he goes off at him. No, not chapter 12, 11. I don't remember. But in one of the chapters, he normally tries to diffuse situations with jokes.
Yeah.
He's actually engaging in the confrontation. And then Luca is just annoying.
It's because she wasn't described as a goddess or god, dressed with marble face and everything.
No, she's just annoying. If I had to deal with Luca, I would probably want to shove and shoot.
Your tolerance for that is very low. Like, it happens very quickly for you. I am done with this person. You would have never got a dragon. You would have killed everybody.
Oh my. That was what, chapter 5?
Yeah, we're in chapter 5. She's in the battle briefing, and she had got Reed to ask a question.
So yeah, she gets, the plan to lay low.
They also fight in this one, don't they? In this chapter?
Mm, I believe so. Yeah. Because they're in the sparring area when Vi and Sawyer make the deal to, trade sparring for studying. And then because it is assessment day, Vi gets paired up with Imogen, and Imogen almost rips her arm. Essentially, I mean, she breaks her arm and damages the ligament and all of that good stuff. So, yeah, she does do a little bit of swimming. And Imogen actually tries to kill Violet and tries to stab her with a dagger in the chest. But Mira's armor that she gave Vi saves her life.
Yeah.
So,
And that armor comes in handy a lot.
yes, it does. So what would you like?
I'm curious on how many times she's going to get killed.
Like mended?
Yeah, mended.
Or at least it doesn't.
I mean, because Dane carries her down there to get mended, and then tries to convince Nelson's Nolan's wife. Is it his wife?
Helen.
To get her out into the scribes, which causes a big stir. And then she's trying to communicate after Helen has already given her
serum or
whatever the serum is called, which pretty much just numbs her so she doesn't feel anything for it. She only wants to be healed this one time. And she tries to insist that. So I'm curious on how many times Nolan's actually going to mend her. Before.
In this book?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's just the one that Nolan killed. At least I can only think of this one time that he actually heals her. In
this book. Because it's just interesting because she doesn't want to be mended at all.
No, she does want this
one time she does. But after this, she doesn't want to be mended at all. But if you're the weakest one and you don't want to be seen going to the health side of it, to the healers, you would think that with her knowing Nolan for as long as she's known him, and him being the one that's always fixed her, she could just go straight to him without having to go to the healers to be mended.
Well, I mean, as soon as Winifred sees her, Winifred is his wife.
That's his wife?
Yeah.
Okay.
Helen is the person that was sent to fetch her. I apologize.
Okay.
But as soon as Winifred sees her, she automatically sends for her. And tells Helen that if Nolan finds out that Violet was there, and Helen didn't tell Nolan, that Nolan would let his dragon eat.
Yeah, because that's because of Dane. Dane's trying to keep Helen from going for everything that goes on. He's trying to keep her broken so he can get her into strike. Because he's the one that pushes for Helen not to go.
Yeah. He wants to use it as an opportunity to get behind. And once Nolan is there, by the way, this is chapter 6 that we're talking about. Yeah. So,
yeah. don't have. The only thing I have for chapter 5 was the deal, the tutoring deal.
Mhm.
And then an off statement of if the dragons were so powerful, why not just go ahead and kill all the victims? Like, if they're the ones that control the wards and the magic, just hey.
That is a good question.
The sad part is I can think of every way in this book.
So, what I would is a little section that starts each chapter of it goes on, knowing I am in direct disagreement with General Melgren's orders, I am officially objecting to the plan set forth in today's briefing. It is not this general's opinion that the children of the rebellion leaders should be forced to witness their parents' execution. No child should want death. And that is an excerpt from the Tirish Rebellion, an official brief for King Fari, General Willard Sword.
Yeah, so how's that cold-hearted bitch going?
I mean, she swings both ways. My opinion of her. 1 second, it's like, really? You just want to kick her in her pants. And then,
You want to hit me?
no, but you could kick her butt.
I don't.
Or her shin. Yeah, the shin.
That's why I say I don't think she's as cold-hearted as you thought she is.
No, either. I don't think she is as cold-hearted as her reputation.
Yeah. She's got a kindness to her, and she knows the boundaries. For it. It's just that for her, they've only remembered what she's accomplished.
Yeah.
Which is why the legacy is so important, because you have her son, who would have been a fantastic mender, because that was his signet, but he dies so early on. Her daughter, who wields wards and can protect, and has done stuff, but it's always been in the heat of battle, and she's hoping that Violet can pull a side of the family where it's not a constant battle.
So, what are you meaning? Are you saying that they're
right now, if she was to die and all of her kids were to die, her legacy is going to be known for war, for being brutal, for not caring, for being heartless.
That's the goal of Best Guy War College.
Right. That's the goal of it. But in her mind, she doesn't want her legacy. She doesn't want to be remembered just as a heartless person.
When you are growing up in an environment where you are forced to join a war, because they've been at war for 400 years. If you really want to argue it, they've been at war for 600 years, because the original wards were built 600 years ago, and they were at war. But everything that they keep saying is that the war with Farmil has been going on for 400 years. And until the Paromish citizens become satisfied with the resources that they have, they'll never, the war will never end, and their people will always be forced into conscription. So the Best Gaia is, everything about it is to desensitize you to the horrors of war and prepare you for going to war.
Right. But see, I don't think she wants to be remembered that way. I think she wants to have a chance of being remembered as a kind person. And with Violet's knowledge, gives her that option, I think it dawned on her with her husband that she's always going to be remembered as this unless she can change.
Okay. I mean, given that her first two children, their, gifts were.
She had a chance. Her biggest chance was with her son, because he was being a mentor for it. And it just was, because he's always going to be in the healer, on the healer side of it, and he would have been known forever as one of the best mentors.
Mm-hmm.
But with Mira, like, yeah, Mira can cast force and protect, but she's going to stay on that front line, fighting everything.
Mm-hmm.
She's going to be able to protect the ones that are around her because that's her signet, but it's going to be a protection in advance.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be a defense hold then advance. She is always going to be a forward motion. Or with Vi, she has the chance of one of her kids being a mender or something that's not going to require a frontline hold. Someone on the back end.
You don't know what Vi's Signet is yet.
No, I haven't got there yet.
Okay. So, moving on.
Technically, I do, because I've sat here and listened to you listen to the book over and over and over and over again. But as of right now, no.
So, yeah.
But you were going into how her mom, you had read the excerpt. Sorry.
I mean, for one, this gives you a heads up about the marked ones, The marked ones were forced to watch their parents die.
Mm-hmm.
And, all of that. And the marked ones, they automatically dislike Vi because she is Lois Sorrendel's daughter.
She was part of the...
Because she was responsible for their parents' murder.
Yeah, she was part of that whole group.
But that correspondence is something that people don't know, because it was sent directly to King.
That's something that we're only going to ever know, because we're reading it from a spark.
Yes. So, but I just think that was an interesting little,
there's several interesting little tidbits with reading reading that intro into each chapter, because therefore a couple of chapters, in my mind, that tidbit didn't reflect on that chapter. It reflected on the next chapter. You would catch it on the tail end, and then it would go into the next chapter. But it changes after a while, where that tidbit involves that chapter.
Mm-hmm.
But therefore, a good little bit, that tidbit is first part of it either talks about a different chapter or it applies to the following chapter.
But at the same time, though, it does kind of apply to this one, because that's when you get your first taste of a rebellion kid.
Mm-hmm.
Had it not been for Mira, he would have succeeded.
Yeah.
Because
Dane was not going to get there on time to stop that.
Because Dane would not have injured.
On the backside of it, you got Jack over there breaking a kid's neck.
Yeah.
So he's up to 2 people dead.
Yeah. At least.
Yeah.
All right, moving on to chapter 6, which we've already talked a little bit about. The part of this that we haven't talked about was that when Vi gets back to the barrack, or no, let's back up just one. So Nolan orders Dane to leave and go to the, because if she'd been any other cadet, he'd have already been.
Because as of right now, they're still trying to hide the fact that they
don't know. I mean, Dane
It's
carried her.
Yeah, it's blown, but for Nolan, he's still trying to help Dane stay focused that, hey, you are the squad leader.
Nolan is just irritated that Dane is sitting there. We need to get her out. Don't mend her. You know, and clearly Vi has made her choice.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, she even states that she has made her choice. She's not going to the strife line.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you got to put an end to it. All they were doing is going in circles. So Nolan orders him away. And if she'd have been any other cadet, he wouldn't be standing over her like an overprotective butthead.
He wouldn't have carried her in there if it had been anybody else.
Yeah. Unless he physically can.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Nolan orders him to leave. And then when Vi gets back to the barracks, she sees Reed. Reed's all excited. They sit on their individual bunks, and Vi finds a book that Mira had bribed one of the scribes to put under her pillow.
And I thought Mira brought the book. Yeah.
No, Mira had bribed one of the scribes to put it under.
Oh, okay. I thought she had brought it in because she had said that she had read the death poll.
She did read the death.
And I thought, in my mind, I thought she was there because she read the death toll and put the book there. Because I was sitting here thinking, well, if she's there, why isn't she in her squad?
No, so everyone has access to the death.
Okay. But I was sitting there like, what if she's there? Why didn't she put her in her squad? Then it dawned on me, she's older and she's not there. She's already done her time.
Yeah, I mean, she's already, and has already gotten, medals for her. And she wasn't allowed into the Quadrant. So she bribed a straw. And this particular book is the Book of Brennan, her older brother. And Vi tells Reed that, is her dead brother's journal.
Mm-hmm.
And Reed expresses to her that her family doesn't always follow the tradition of burning their loved ones.
Which is a surprise because everybody does it, and it's a surprise that Mira was able to keep.
Yeah,
As big of a deal as her mom is, the fact that she was able to keep this away from her mom without finding out.
Yeah. Yeah, so Vi is definitely trying to protect this book with, everything she's but while reading it, Vi discovers that he has a way to survive.
Mm-hmm.
This book has got all kinds of good information.
I mean, it's how Mira survived. Outside of her abilities that she's got and being trained to be in the riders, it's how Mira survived.
Yeah. And that first little bit that Brennan had wrote in, oh my goodness, that just wrote the heartstrings.
That tugs at your heartstrings. The first thing that I got out of it was like, go straight to the place and find out who you're fighting.
Well, he's sitting there, you have to succeed because Vi is one.
Yeah. You gotta do all this because Vi is watching you and you won't falter or fail.
Yeah.
And it does, but it's just a difference between the two of us reading it. You're getting called that, and my mind's over here going, will you go ahead and get to the place to find out who you're fighting next? You won't physically handle this. You gotta find out who you're getting next. You better use this book, and you better hide it well enough so nobody finds it.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're not supposed to have it. Like, the only thing you're supposed to have is what you carry over.
Yeah.
Which plays a big role later on.
Yeah.
But, so if anybody finds this book, it's gone.
Mm-hmm. Anything else you want to talk about?
No, that was it. My question was, how long will she be able to hide the journal?
Chapter 7. So Vi sneaks out after curfew, and she starts collecting ingredients from for her to be able to create a bunch of poison, because she found a way to survive.
Mhm.
And while she is in a tree collecting one of the ingredients, a couple of people, they walk up underneath her, the tree that she is hiding. And she realizes it's Zayden and Imogen. And then more people show up underneath her tree, and she realizes that all of them are marked ones.
Mhm.
And it is it's against the law for more than 3 marked ones to assemble together. And V is sitting there, oh my God, they're breaking the law, but if they're planning their revenge on Navarre.
This is where her moral compass really comes in handy.
Yes. And then she's like, I need to get closer so I can hear what you're saying and all of that. So she lowers herself, hides in the shadows. Uh,
Despite the fact that she's out at night when she's not supposed to.
yeah, yeah. Um, but she listens in and she realizes that yes, they are breaking the law because more than 3 of them have grouped together.
Mhm.
But all they're doing is finding out what the first years are struggling with and giving them advice as to what to do and making game plans for, the ones that are struggling with sparring, getting them with people to help them.
This is why I say the Codex is a guidance.
So this, I think, is...
Or is this an actual, part of the whole?
This is King Tari said... Well, I think it was more so Mel declared it, but this is...
I always figured this was a part. I figured that was part of the Codex.
No, I don't think it's a part of the Codex. I think this is just a general law for the country. But yeah. So she realizes that, what they're doing, there's nothing wrong with it. The only thing that's wrong is that more than 3 of them are together. And if she says anything to anybody, then the first years are going to die because all they were doing was asking for help.
Yeah.
And then the older ones, they'll die because they were giving help.
Yeah.
And she doesn't agree with it. So, and then, she's also starting to have a little change of heart about Satan, because he's actually taking the time to take care of the younger kids from his providence, whatnot.
It just makes her feelings for him stronger, is all it really does. It's not...
It is short-lived.
It is.
Because, while she's listening, by the end of it, one of the cadets is, when do we get to take out Violent Sorting Guild? Everybody's agreeing with it and or agreeing with the question, and then they start debating whether or not Bullet should live or should die.
Yeah.
And Zayden decides that he announces that Violet is his, taking.
Yeah.
He will handle.
Which is why I think him and his dragon actually talk back and forth more than Dane and his dragon. For him to come out and say that, he's making sure that none of the people are in that group feels hurt, that he only has the right to do it.
Yeah.
Where he's putting on the front that he's still going to, but I think that his dragon has already told him something keeps him. Yeah. If I had read all the books too, I think
But so yeah, her admiration for Zayden is short lived, and you know, Dane Mark One's sisters. Violet waits until she is confident that they're all gone, and then she climbs down out of the tree and discovers that Zayden is still there. She actually throws a couple of daggers at him. And he discovers that, Zayden commands Jack.
yeah.
And his shadows are strong enough to pluck her daggers from that tree and hand them to
It was interesting when we find this out, his signet ability, because when I first read it, I thought that he, like, it said that he could will the shadows, but I thought he could come out of the shadows. Like he could,
the shadows can move.
right? But like in my mind, I thought that he could move into the shadows and then reappear somewhere else out of the shadows.
Well, I mean, if you give them enough time.
Right, but without you
Oh,
for it. It was like it, I like teleporting for it, but from shadow to shadow, without having to actually physically move to that position, is what I thought she meant when she first wrote this.
mhm.
When I first read it.
But the shadows do attack them, which means he knew that she was up in her tree.
The fact that the shadows, he is able to listen into the shadows for everything. He's heard everything that her and Dane have talked about. Or Dane's having to put his fingers on her temple. He hears everything in the shadows. And that's, outside of actually reading people's thoughts, that's worse than just being able to read people's minds for it, or anything. Because most of the conversations of it, you trying to overthrow somebody, you try to take control of a situation, you try to battle plan any major fight, it is not done publicly. It's done in a private spot where nobody else is at. And if you have charge of the shadows, you're more of a danger than somebody that can read a mind. Because you can hear the game plan before even going in and not having to read them.
So,
which kills me. It kills me because up to this point, you find out that this, and then you see her and Dane have always in the shadows. And it's like, she finally registers that he shadow wields, and yet they still keep in the shadows. It's like, what's the point? The one person that you're trying to stay away from is still here.
So Zayden gives her the nickname for Violet, and he suggests that Violet throw the little dagger trick to get Barlow. And then he asks, if Violet plans on telling anybody about his little.
This is her best bit of information outside of the journal. Is this gathering of markers. The journal helps her get through the writers without dying, except for her physical traits that she's got to develop. But this guarantees her protection with Zayden, because she could go at any point and tell anybody, and they're instantly dead.
Yeah.
So it completely knocks him out of ever killing her. I mean, his only option to keep a secret is to kill her. But if it still doesn't stop her from telling somebody else. So it shows, it's the only time in the book where it actually shows trust between the characters.
Yeah.
I mean, Reed trusts her to an extent, she trusts Reed to an extent, but that's more of a friendship. This is an actual alliance that she should have been forming from the start with everybody he's dealt with. instead of making the friendship with like when Mira told her to form alliances, this is what she should have been more focused on than making the friendship.
Well, I mean, it was considered common knowledge that Zayden killed her, so why would she do anything with Zayden until this?
Right, but I mean, just informing alliances across the board of what she should have been doing.
Mm-hmm.
Or this, like, this is a true trust. Either I tell or you kill me.
Mm-hmm.
So, which one is it going to be?
Mm-hmm.
And if you're still going to try to kill me, then I have the option of trying to tell it faster.
Yeah.
But I don't think Zayden ever had the thought of killing her after this dragon showed up that day, anyways.
So, I think that Zayden is very good at reading people and is able to know that Violet is telling the truth when she tells him to.
Of course, he's good at reading patience. Shadow.
So, yeah.
There's no mystery.
And then he tells Vi that she needs to get back to bed before her wing leader finds out she's out after her year.
Who already knows because he's the wing leader.
Which is what she did.
That's the most stupidest common error. But now him shadow wielding is, I think it. I'm curious on how strong the Signet is.
Very.
Well, yes, it is. It's very strong. But like with his development with it for it, I'm curious of how strong. If he's constantly seeking to improve it to make it stronger. For it, or what with Dane's just perfectly happy with being able to shut somebody's mind and read it, and it's only better if she's closer to him. If his dragon is closer to him, then he has more ability to get deeper into it. Where with Zayden, he seems like the guy that's like, okay, my dragon might not be right next to me. How strong can I get the farther away she is? Where he's constantly trying to improve it, where Dane's just like, oh, I can do this, I'm good. I'm set for life.
That is an assumption. We don't know. I mean, because they are at a school to develop people.
Right.
And they do have.
I just don't see Dane as driven to. He's very ambitious with things that he thinks, with the politics side of it. His ability is very important with intelligence gathering, torture, those kind of things. But that's not going to help him in politics. Unless he's, sneaking around and touching people's temples to see what they know to advance his career. Or with Zayden, his ability is massive with fighting. And he's not hard set on politics.
That we know.
So his drive to see where he can stretch it is a lot more than what Dane's is. In my opinion.
I can see your concern.
Because I don't see Dane as one of the writers that's going to go out in the front lines and actually fight. Or his signet is already marked as not being on his shoulder. Because she talks about that in the previous chapter. Violet sees it, and it's not a normal patch on his uniform. It's a different patch. It's a classified patch. Where Zayden doesn't wear his patches at all. But if he was to wear his, that one's not going to be a classified patch.
Right.
And I just don't see Dane being because he's a classified pet, he's not going to be on the front lines. But I don't see him trying to improve it because he's wanting to climb, and unless he's trying to find out something to advance his spot, he's going to be stuck in intelligence gathering on a lower scale. Unless he can develop it where he can get away from his track.
I think that Dane, I think all of that works together. And, him advancing is, associated with.
I just don't see him as an intelligence gatherer advancing very far without him abusing it. But I don't see him having to try to really see how far that reach he can get with it.
I think that that's just something that is disgusting. Well, I mean, he's a rather ambitious guy, so developing his ability, that goes hand in hand, in my opinion. But it's not something that's really good.
Yeah.
So there's really no telling, what he's doing. I mean, it's something that we might discover later on. We find out. But another thing to talk about with this chapter is Zayden giving Violet the advice to chuck a few daggers and jump forward.
I mean, that's because Zayden's more of first, think about it later.
Well, he's also, looking at it from the perspective of Jack looks at Violet as a liability, to weak.
Yeah.
And being weak. We throw a few daggers at him.
They should shut him up.
Yeah, at least for a little bit, Whereas Dane, on the other hand, is sitting there, you need to,
Zayden wants to push her.
Yeah.
But Zayden wants to push her to her full ability. Dane just wants her.
Yes.
I mean, at some point, I think Dane turns to where he thinks she's a threat to what he can.
Fine.
Where Zayden's like, let's get this, see what you can do. The whole point of being a writer is to be your full potential.
Mm-hmm. So that moves us into chapter 8. Dane walks Violet to her breakfast duties every morning. And Vi actually chooses the duty station so that she can poison the people that she is going to challenge. And as he's walking her to the kitchen, they're teasing each other and, having,
She does the
whatnot. She does. She is a little bit more vocal. But he's even sitting there, he's asking her if there's a sex life to talk about. That wasn't something that she jumped out to. He wasn't started
because he's 40.
Yeah, but I mean,
with the way this Dane is, it wouldn't surprise me if he's still a virgin.
I mean, if I'm not mistaken, him and Amber did have a little thing.
Yeah, that was probably one of them ones where first base, second base, third base, fourth base, fifth base. There wasn't the normal home run there. You had to jump through 20,000 different hoops to get to the final landing there.
Who knows?
I just, with the way that he is with her, you go from a big brother situation to where starts to think of her in a different way. But he's on that front.
Mhm.
He's not experienced to understand what does what.
Mhm.
And it's either the lack of it or the fact that he's never done it and he's only played 5-on-1.
But he does. He is the one that starts it.
Well, the only reason it was started because of the fact of all the stuff that she said to him.
No, it started because Bree and Tara walked out of one of the first year private quarters that nobody.
At least Ree's having fun.
Yeah.
You gotta give it to her. She's having fun. She's living it. Like, she knows that at any point she can die, so she's going to go out with a bang.
Yeah. So that's what started with, because he was sitting there going to the hill. Yeah. Really totally first year's sex life was not what she imagined when he became section leader. Yeah.
So, what did you expect? You've got they've got to be in their 20s coming in.
Yeah, they are.
So,
yeah,
you're 20.
Yeah, hormones are racing.
Yeah.
So yeah. Yeah, they're teasing each other, blah blah blah, and then Dane changes the conversation to another opportunity to beg Vi to run to the scribe quadrant. And whatnot.
She's got more patience with him with that than I do.
Wait.
Like, just give it up.
Mm-hmm.
If she was going to run, she would have already done it.
Yeah. So, she has a class with Professor Kaori, the dragon instructor. And in this class, he's telling them about the different dragons that have decided to bond that year, or this year, and blah, blah, blah. Well, Jack, he is wanting information on the black dragon. That's he. That one. And the black dragon, that the only unbonded dragon, which there are 2 black dragons.
Hold on just a second. Do you want another class?
So there are 2 black dragons in existence. One is already been bonded, and that is General Melgren's dragon, whose name is Coda. And then there's Terran, who is the only unbonded black dragon. And Terran is roughly 100 years old. But he has only bonded to one dragon, and when that dragon, or when that rider passed away, it almost killed him. And he took it really hard and hasn't wanted, or hasn't agreed to bond.
Right.
Hasn't even been seen.
Which is very interesting because they never say that it was Terran. They just say it's another black dragon.
There's only 2 black dragons.
There's 2. I mean, if we know, like they say that it's 2, but you're calling him Terran, which we know that it's Terran. But in this chapter, he doesn't call him Terran.
I want to say he does.
No, because the only time the name is given is when it's given to the rider and the rider tells it.
Okay.
You only get the full name of your dragon when you become the rider.
Other people know.
They know.
They don't know his full name.
Right, but he never gives the name because the dragon is no longer bonded.
The full name.
He never calls it.
He knows his full name.
He never calls him Terran either.
He might not. I don't remember. But
I mean, nobody knows the full name except for the bonded rider.
Yeah.
But I do find it interesting that even in this, every dragon he talks about, the only name he says are the ones that are bonded.
Yeah.
And with every other dragon, he never says their name.
Okay.
For it.
I could see that.
I mean, I just find it interesting
Um,
that he out of all the ones that are there.
well, he does have a great respect for
Yeah,
all
like
the dragons.
he has it just shows how much of a respect that he has
Mhm.
for the dragons compared to everybody else. You've got Jack wanting to know who the most powerful one is and how to get the most powerful one. And you have all these people, asking about how to do this with a dragon, how to do that with a dragon. And he's the only one that's like, no, these need to be respected.
Mhm.
Like, these are important parts of our life.
Yeah.
There's a level of respect that has to be given to
Well, I mean, if you don't, they're going to incinerate you.
them.
So you either learn it now or you learn the hard way.
Yeah.
And yeah. But so yeah. Tyrion hasn't been seen in 5 years.
Mm-mm.
The only unbonded black dragon. And he almost died after the death of his last and only rider died trying to save another rider. And Jack, being the dumbass that he is, arrogant asshole,
Mm-hmm.
is, somebody should ask him,
Yeah.
and blah, blah, blah.
I mean, by this point, if you don't like Jack, you might need to get checked.
Right.
In all reality.
Right. But yeah, he wants to bond him. And after the class ends, Vi goes up to Professor Kaori, and Kaori, does divulge to Violet that Naolin did die trying to save her.
Yeah.
I mean, Violet asked specifically, and he confirms that. Kaori, during this conversation, he tells her that once she gets out of there, out of Basgaia, that people are going to treat her differently, and they're going to try sucking up to her because she is General Sorrengail's daughter.
Mm-hmm.
He also tells her that she is smarter than her brother was and her sister.
Mm-hmm.
And she internally, her internal monologue is, it's rare that I go toe to toe with my siblings and come out ahead,
Yeah.
But so yeah. And then he also reminds her that not all strength is physical. And then she goes into the sparring class, and Dane tells her that her opponent is going to try to kill her. And he knows this because he overheard him and his friends talking about how she's the weakest link.
Yeah.
And, because Jack and all of the crap that he's been saying and rumors that he's spreading and all of that.
Which is absolutely pointless because she's in breakfast doing it. She went out and picked all the poison for it.
Dane doesn't know.
Right. Dane doesn't know it, but it's just pointless information that she's getting because she knows who she's doing from the journal.
Yep.
She's got the poison and the stuff to counter effect it. So she already knows what's going on.
Yeah. And it's
just shows
that Jack is being
but with Dane, it just shows the lack of trust she really has in him.
Yeah.
Because if she really trusted him, he wouldn't be telling her this information because he would already know she has a journal.
Yeah.
With growing up as much as they have, you would think that she would trust him more. But because of the way he's acting, she no longer trusts him like she did before she got in.
Yeah. And it's just another reminder to her that he doesn't believe that she'll make it.
Yeah.
So yeah. And then of course Jack starts, attempting to bully Vi and whatnot, and Vi decides that she's going to take Zayden's at Vi. And she tosses a few daggers at him. I want to say one of the daggers lands near his head and the other one is just below his,
I thought she outlined his head.
no, one is...
One is like close to the ear and the other one goes down below.
Yep, as a little reminder of what she did the first time.
He just likes throwing shit at his balls.
Now, she could take it up about 2 inches.
They don't have 2 inches to take up.
That is true.
That's why you need to be over 18.
Oh. So, she sees the fear in his eyes and all of that, and he's, sitting there telling her that she's going to pay for it.
I like the descriptive that he writes in this section because he tries to keep this arrogance form, but he goes. Like he's completely flushed out. He's technically terrified. She describes him as being terrified, but trying to keep this arrogance. I am better in.
Yeah. So Dane immediately starts chastising her, but she sees Zayden and he raises an eyebrow at her, and she can see the hints of a grin, hints of a smile and whatnot. So because Violet is poisoning her opponent, she does win her challenge.
Yeah.
But the last challenge that she's scheduled to do, she served the poison too soon. Her opponent ends up in, with the healers, and Zayden decides to fill it.
That's the difference from just reading and knowing what affects and then how to actually apply it.
Yeah.
Or she's got the knowledge for it to be able to apply it to where it helps her, but she doesn't have the training to actually put it into effect.
Well, I mean, she did pretty good until this time.
You also work in the breakfast one, so in all honesty, with all of her knowledge, she should have picked a different one that had more of a timing to closer to it. Because they're in school, so you know that breakfast is at this time, class is at this time, lunch is at this time, training is at this time. The whole day's laid out.
It could have been one of those issues where, it came down to minutes, and instead of the girl eating that particular food last, she ate it first.
Yeah.
It could have been something as simple as that. We don't know. But what we do know is that the girl ended up experiencing the side effects a little bit sooner than Violet had intended.
Yeah. So I was going to go a different way in this chapter until today when you were playing it over again. For like the next millionth time. Originally I was going to go with Brennan's death, her finding out about that, and then the guy that was trying to bring him back burning out, and that whole process. But there was something that was when you were listening to it again that piqued my interest, and that was Signal bonding the family of her previous rider, and how that is technically forbidden in the dragon sign, which is really interesting. One, because she broke a rule as a dragon with the other dragons, but two,
Miguel does.
right. But the other thing is Terran. for it. So Taryn's rider died trying to bring her brother back.
Yeah.
And then she turns around and bonds to a mark to Zayden, who is marked, who's, I'm guessing it dad or cousin or somebody, was probably most likely on the wrong side for it. And her brother died because of the rebellion.
So Zayden's father is who we are being told killed Brent.
Right. So, I mean, I don't think they ever say who she was previously bonded to. It's just a family member.
We do find out
Later.
Yeah.
But I find that very interesting because she broke a dragon's rule to bond to Zayden. But, I mean, in the next couple of chapters, we find out that she's married, that she's with Taryn. And I find it very interesting that she would go ahead and break the rule and bond to a family member that is marked now, where Taryn disappears for 5 years. Because his rider is the one that tried to save a guy, where the other one was on the other side of the rebellion. It's in my mind, that's very intriguing. Because you've got, not only do you have the human split, but now you have the fact that Taryn is taking his time before he picks a rider because they're split.
So Sigel wasn't bonded when Taryn was bonded to Naomi.
She wasn't?
No.
Okay. Then never mind. Forget it all.
But we will be revisiting some of that topic later.
In the next book, we're not even close to. This is later on. I know it's because I got up to chapter 27, I think, so I know it's not within the next couple of chapters. But I just found it interesting that she would break a dragon's rule that is forbidden.
Well, I mean, dragons do what
they do.
So
but it's just at that point it was just intriguing because she does that and she goes with a marked one where Taryn is with her, but he was on the other side of it without knowing that she was involved in that time.
Yeah, she was.
Yeah.
But yeah. So let's move on to chapter 9.
Well, up till chapter now, have you had anything that you wanted to talk about?
No, because we've pretty much been talking, about it as we go. Now, there is one thing that I do, I didn't put this down as a note, but I did, have a thought. That it is, so a writer's signet is based on the writer, who they are at their core,
right?
What they need, things like that, right? And I just find it interesting that Violet, from the time she was born, has always been very fragile, very brittle. Her bones break. She dislocates the joint every other day.
Right.
Blah, blah, blah. Her brother, Violet needs to be mended frequently. She has been getting Nolan has been mending Violet for the last 5 years.
Yeah.
Right. And Brennan, when he develops his signet, he's a mender.
Right.
And then, they are constantly having to protect Violet. And what is Mira's signet? It's a shield. A lot of times you associate shields with protection. So I just find it interesting that Mira and Brennan both have signets that would be beneficial to protecting and helping, Violet.
But this comes from the fact that you have read more than I have.
No, that's information that you get
Yeah,
up to this chapter.
but the assumption that you're getting is the fact that you've read more than what I have.
No, not at all. Because in chapter 8, which we just went over the synopsis for, or whatever, whatever. In chapter 8, Haori makes the comment to Jack that signets are more about the writer and
Okay, so you're getting at something else than what I was saying.
everything that we need to know about the siblings as far as taking care
Of each other.
Everything that we need to know about Violet and her condition. And, what is it, chapter 3 or 4, that we find out that Nolan and his wife, Winifred, have been mending her for the last 5 years. We find out in a couple of places that Brennan is a mender. I want to say we find out in a couple of different places that Mira is a shield.
I don't think we technically find out that she shields
until this chapter.
That's
what I was thinking. But, it's just a thought that I had that, here, you can assume that Mira and Brennan have, since Violet was born, just been conditioned to take care of Violet.
Yeah.
Because she has this condition.
Well, like the way I was originally going to go with this chapter was the fact that she finds out that Brennan was trying to be saved from a different writer who burnt out, who had the ability to, his signet was to a access tower.
He's a siphon.
Siphon it for it. There's only 2 reasons that he would have pursued to save Brennan. Either they were really close and really good friends, or they were in love with each
other. I think that they had a relationship.
See, then that's the thing. There's only 2 reasons to try to save somebody. Either you're really good friends and you want them there, or you were, there was a physical relationship there.
I mean, according to Kaori, Nolan burnt out trying to save Brennan because, healing someone, is great and all, but resurrection makes you
right. And I see them trying to spin it in that way.
Yeah, but
to try to make you legendary to where you're a god because you brought somebody back. But because of the way that they're ranked, nobody's just going to give their life up.
Unless there's something deep there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, they had to spin it a certain way for both writers to die.
Yeah.
For it to be written down.
Yeah.
But because of the way that the training that they went through, there is something else going on that has happened between those 2.
Okay.
For him to give up his life to do that. Otherwise, you're not going to just burn out. Yeah.
Yeah. But oh yeah, I had a thought and it's gone. But yeah, so it for me, the simple thought of Brennan and Mira's signet
being a protective signet for Violet.
So that they could take care of their big.
Yeah. I mean, that's just from her being the main character, and you're trying to make sure she's protected all the way around.
Well,
it's a great setup. for something to happen until you kill off the main brother.
Oh, yeah. But
If she hadn't killed off the brother, it'd be a different story.
anyway, so let's move on to chapter 9. So, Zayden in chapter 8 has decided that he is going to fill in for Violet so that she can still participate in the change, right? And Zayden shows her she isn't actually getting better with Sparring,
Yeah.
you know? And he does it in a very humiliating way. He is disarming her and, all of that good stuff. And he tells her that she won't be able to poison every person she goes up against.
No, I mean, this fight with her is just for her.
Yeah.
It is him training her just for her.
Yeah. And, he tells her that she's not going to be able to poison everyone that she goes up against, especially after she leaves this guy. And she's all shocked and how does he know all of that? And he tells her that aside from being able to know what she's doing in the shadows,
You know that.
but he tells her that he knows better poison masters. So he was able to figure it out.
Yeah.
Um,
Which is bullshit because it's the shadows. I mean, all he's got to do is, okay, she was at this point in this tree when he saw her the first. And then all of a sudden, people start getting sick that she's fighting. 2 + 2 equals like.
So, he actually takes the time to instruct her and, give her, little information points of how to take out an opponent based on her strengths. He doesn't completely disarm her because defenseless women, his type.
I thought he took everything out.
No.
I thought by the end of the fight he had completely taken away all her attack.
No. So he gets her down to 1 dagger.
Okay.
And he tells her to get her dagger. And, at first she's confused and he ends up physically taking her hand to the dagger, pulling it out, and then he guides her hand with the dagger to different spots on his body, like in the rib,
Because
and the kidney.
up to that point, the only good thing she did was try to punch him in the throat.
Yeah.
Because he tells her, well, that's a good idea. Somebody's throat's unprotected.
Yeah. And he tells her to stop going for the burns, that kind of stuff. So he's actually taking the time to train with it.
Yeah.
So, but it's definitely just for her. Yeah. But once he finishes showing her the different spots on his body that he could have easily gone for to take her opponent out, he guides her hand back to the sheaths and,
I thought he threw it away after he was done with it.
No, he does not completely discern. Because defenseless women have never been his.
Everybody likes those fight.
And then he tells Dane that Violet could use more instruction and less protection. Later, Dane is massaging Vi and tells her that he talked to Colonel Markham about how worried he is about her safety and about the list of people to kill her, the threats that she's been receiving. And Dane tells her that Markham will accept her into the Strife Quadrant and will not tell her mother.
At this point, Dane's just annoying.
Yeah.
I mean, Jack's an asshole and should die, but Dane's just annoying.
Yeah.
And he's constantly looking for her a way out. And she does it up to this point. She's saying no because of her mom. Because she knows that if she takes Dane and uses him to get out, she's getting sent back. But at this point, it finally clicks that she can actually do this. I mean, she still questions it, but it starts to dawn on her that, I have beat this person, I've outsmarted this person by using the poisons and making these people sick. I might actually have a chance of surviving this.
Yeah.
And Dane's just, at this point, Dane's just a broken record of, look, I found you another way out. Who gives a shit?
So yeah, they get into an argument. He is livid that he's gone behind her back, and she takes it as Dane thinks she can't cut it in the writer's squadron.
Because he doesn't think she can.
But he's sitting there denying it.
Because he wants that.
And Vi, goes through a list of all the ways that he does say that he doesn't think that she can make it. And she points out that she has done better than the fourth of her year that has shown up in the death.
She's excelled so much. And the fact that she survived this far. I mean, she's going to live because she's the main character. So you have to take that into account, that she's going to survive no matter what.
Yeah.
But the way that she survived is the biggest thing. Because she could be the main character and she's going to survive, but lose a hand, an arm, that kind of stuff. With the physical traits that she has, she could take more damage than what she has.
Yeah.
But he needs, with Dane, he's just a broken.
Oh, yeah. So then Dane decides to mansplain what happens at first. I mean, can you describe it as anything other than mansplaining?
Oh, mansplain.
That's what he's done.
Right. Mansplaining now.
Do you know
Hey. He's trying to give his point across. He's trying to make her understand that he does like her. That, outside of it being a brother-sister bond, that he actually, this is his first attempt of him trying to tell her in a very stupid way, that he actually does like her and does care for her. And how the threshing would affect him if she dies.
He says it almost every time. He says,
yeah, but up to that point, he's went about it the same way. And I don't like this because you're not going to survive. And it's hit the same point up to this point of him pretty much showing her that she's not capable of doing it. But this is the only time that he actually tries to tell her from his side. It's like he actually allows his emotions to come through without being, you need to go to the scribes. This is why it's going to affect me as a person. Not that I want you to go to the scribes because I know you'll do better, because you're more protected as in there. That's where you need to be. When he goes into this, and this is the only time he shows it, that how it's actually going to affect him.
does.
as a human being.
But he does it in the worst.
He does.
You know.
And that's why I say I think he's a virgin.
I think he has spent so long protecting Vi, and
see, I don't think up to that, I don't think he's protected by for it. With them growing up together, I don't think he ever really protected her. I think he was there when she needed his help and to carry her to place to the mentors or to Nolan. Then
I mean, they did get into, they did go and do things that she ended up getting.
right, but I don't think up till now he's never had to physically be there as a protector to step in when something went wrong. He was up till now he's only had to be the one that helped her get where she needed to be to get fixed so they could go do something else for it.
See that?
So you have the pressure of, oh, now I actually have to. I watched you before, but now I actually have to watch you.
Before, it wasn't like her death.
Right. And he's tried to go about this of getting it out because he wants her to scribe. He wants her in the scribes. He wants her in the scribes. But at this point, it's more of, this is why. And he tries to explain it. He's just horrible. But every guy is horrible at this. For it. No guy in this predicament is going to come out right following the way he did it. It would be different as a guy if he had tried to do it differently at the start of the situation when all of this started. But if you as a guy and you follow his path and then you try to let your emotions talk to me like, hey, this is my problem of why, it's not going to work.
Yeah. But, so yeah. He does all of that. He says that he'll have to watch Jack Barlow and Warren Seaford lecture, and that he won't be able to help. And he begs her to go to the scribes.
Begging is never a good move as a guy. For future reference, if you're a single dude, begging is not the answer. Never. It's too much desperation. Continue.
But then the voice in the back of Violet's head reminds her that she's made it this far.
Yeah.
And Dana said, just think about it. Of course, she agrees to think about it.
She agrees, but does she really think about it? Oh.
I mean, we've got to get to the next chapter.
In this chapter, I really want to focus on Zayden. Because he had a chance to kill her. They were, several times with her on the map. He had several different chances to kill her. And this is why I think that him and his dragon plays such a crucial role for him. I mean, even though you don't really get it in this book at all, I just, you stand here and listen to your wife, listen to the same thing over and over and over. I really think that his dragon plays a role in him not actually killing her. Because out of any of the opportune time, when he was talking to the Mark ones back when she was in the tree, and he told them that it was up to him, this is the prime opportunity moment to kill her. Because she hasn't said anything up till now. He's had her pinned so many different times. He's thrown so many of her daggers away. It would not be that hard for him to grab one and just kill her right then and there. because he's not going to go. I mean, he's proven with her that he's not going to go for an easy spot or like a spot that gives you a chance to fight back. Because he pulls her to the kidneys, lungs, throat. So you already know that in his mind, if he goes for the kill, he's going for the easiest, quickest route. And because she's wearing armor, even though I don't think he knows at this point that she's wearing armor, or he's going straight for the throat. Because you can see that she has no protection from the chest up.
Well, he even points out to her that a person was wearing armor where the best place, place that they would do most.
Unfortunately for him, if you had went for the kidneys, it would have failed because of the armor that she had.
Except if he's throwing her on him.
But if he was really intent on killing her, that would have been the prime spot to do it. And I really think that that his dragon plays the fact that he hasn't killed her. That his dragon knows something, or her mom has been talking to her dragon and it all goes out. Because if it wasn't for the fact that him and his dragon talked back and forth, he 9 times out of 10 should have killed her at that point. Yeah, in book 2, you find out this. Chapter 10.
So, yeah. Let's move on to chapter 10.
You are loving this, aren't you?
I do. I love you so much.
Yeah. Normally, I'm right all the time. And she's having a field day with this. You can see back replying at all to that statement.
As they are waiting to practice the gauntlet, Dane and Riddick started because he's just standing. Riddick doesn't like the way Tynan is being a dick to their squadron. Sawyer attempts to defuse the argument. Amaterio gets there and tells the order that they are going to go through the youngsters. And he points out that they are the only squad to remain intact since Parapet, which makes them the Iron Squad, and makes the comment that their squad leader must be proud. Tynan accuses Dane and Vi of sleeping together. Vi tells him it's none of his business she sleeps with.
All right. We're just going to pause right there. For a guy's point of view, she should have just went with it. That's all I'm saying. She should have just went with it. This is the difference between a male and a female. She thinks about it. A dude is like, yeah, I typed that. And just went with it. Knowing that is a bullshit lie, just went with it.
So,
because if Dane had been standing there, if the roles had been reversed, if she was in Dane's position and Dane was in her position, Dane would have went with it. He wouldn't have stopped her. He wouldn't have stopped it from being said. He would have went with it and made a whole bunch of bullshit how good it was.
You guys can do this. I'm telling you, if a girl was going on about how she had, how promiscuous she is, she'd be labeled as a whore.
Love is blind. Look at how much they talk about there. They were comparing dick sizes.
Anyways, so.
Just saying. Y'all are more dirty than guys are.
Well, yeah. We just know who to do it with, Who to say what to. But Vi tells him it's none of his business who she sleeps with. Luca chimes in with, "It is if that means you're getting preferential treatment." Ray points out how stupid they are by informing them that they've been friends for years and they should know their chain of command, and, was going on about how Dane's dad is Pilot A.
Mom's aid.
Mm-hmm. Yes, Violet's man's aid. Um, and Materio comes back and um, has Sawyer start, and once he has completely gotten up the obstacle course, he starts sending the rest of them. Now that Jack or Tiny is pointed out for being a dumbass.
Mm.
And while they're going up, doing this course, majority of the squad is cheering each other on. And,
Yeah.
They're seeing things that can help each other. And,
They're the only squad that's actually still the original squad.
Mhm.
Out of all the other squads that have been in it for the 1 year, they're the only ones with still have all the people there
Mhm.
for them.
Mhm.
Because everybody else has already lost people. They're the only squad up to this point that haven't lost anybody yet.
Honestly, I think it's because they're willing to help each other.
It's that
They watch each other's backs, and
I think
aside from a couple of people that you would just prefer to throw out.
right. I think it's that, and I think it's the fact that Zayden has pulled people into his squad that he knows he can trust. Outside of the marked ones that are in his squad, he's got it set up to where he knows that he can trust the squad and not have to constantly be looking over them. Where the only person that needs to be looking over them is the squad leader of.
Even who was squad leader. I mean, yes,
She's
he
a
did
good
pull
yeah, but
Dane in there, but he did that mostly because he wanted to pilot,
right.
and he had to pull the entire city.
But you gotta looking back at it with him having his signet power and him being the one that was seeing them walk across the bridge going in. He has a good idea of who's going to make it, who's going to help, who's going to actually be there.
I don't think he cares that much about.
I think he does.
I mean, I think he cares about the people that are under him, to an extent. If they want help, he'll give it. But if they don't want to help themselves, he's not going to try to help.
No, he's not going to try to help someone that helps himself, but he's going to stack his deck to where he's got the best one.
I don't think he really cares that much about it.
I think he does. I think at the start of the book, she writes him as more of an antagonist that causes issues, but I think he's got something else in mind.
Anyway, while they're going through this, of course, Violet gets a little bit nervous and she starts quoting facts again. And I think it's interesting to point out that she is quoting feather tails and different colored dragons, and that's what she's
Yeah,
using at this point in time.
those knowledges have tried to calm
Yeah. And then, out of nowhere, this green dagger tail goes flying over, and Vi looks up to watch. I apologize. Vi looks up to watch it, and then next thing you know, Orally starts crying out. Vi looks back at her just in time to see her fall. Vi lunges for her. Their eyes meet, and the particular point that they're at on the obstacle course causes her to roll away from Vi in her outstretched hands. The next morning, formation is difficult for Vi as she's listening to the death roll. Vi ends up volunteering to take Orly's things to the burn pit. Dane offers to go with her, but she refuses him. After she takes care of Orly's things, she's walking through a basically empty courtyard. There's a couple there that's trying to decide if they want to go somewhere else or if they want to sit there and make out. So it's basically empty. And she's sitting there, trying to go through her mind about Rider's Quadrant, Quadrant, blah, blah. And next thing you know, Zayden, Garrick, and Bodhi, they're heading Vi's way. And they stop, and Zayden sends Garrick and Bodhi on. And Vi calls out that she knows that he knows she's there. Vi and Zayden, they discuss the problem that is, with the Rider's Quadrant, and Zayden reveals that he knows about her option to run to the Scribe Quadrant and tells her, you're supposed to, they talk about how hope is an issue, is the problem with the Rider's Quadrant. And he tells her that you're supposed to focus on the things that can kill you, so you find ways to not die. And if she were to just stop sulking in her self-pity, she'd see that she has everything she needs to scale the gauntlet. He's actually taking the time to be a leader, a mentor, to her, which I think is absolutely, it shows that he is a better person than what everybody views him as.
Well, you find that he's a better person. Like if you weren't thinking of the fact that Draken was the one that was doing this, keeping him from killing her.
Mm-hmm.
This chapter shows that he is a better person than what you think he is. Because in this chapter, he tells her that he needs her to keep him human.
Yeah.
Because of all the stuff that has happened to him and everything he's seen, he needs her just to keep him bound to Earth, where he's no longer going out and killing people. He's no longer being an asshole. He's no longer doing.
She's the scale that he
for it. I mean, if you're just reading it through the book and you're not realizing all the other stuff, that's the point when you realize that he actually cares about people.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and he does. He absolutely does.
I mean,
but I don't think he cares about the Quadrant.
No,
and that is done.
No, he doesn't care about none of that. You get glimpses of him caring for people, but it's not until this chapter that it really dawns on you that he actually cares for people.
Yeah,
because you see him with the marked ones, they're like, oh, he only cares about the marked ones. But the fact that he's keeping her alive just so he can see where his humanity level is, because she's his scale to keep him normal, is a big thing for it. And at that point, you realize that he's pretty much flipped to her protector, where Dane's no longer going to be able to protect her. He's going to be the one that's going to protect her, because if she dies, he no longer has that skill. Without knowing anything else.
I mean, he gives the impression that not that he wants to protect her, he wants to see her
he wants
succeed.
Yeah, he wants to see her succeed. He wants to see her be the best person that she can be. He wants to be able to push her to the limits.
Mm-hmm.
But at this point in the book, if she dies, he no longer has a moral compass for everything that he does. At this point in the book, if she was to die in the next verse or line or chapter, he no longer has a moral compass to guide himself with, in my opinion.
I can see that. So, moving on to chapter 11. The morning of presentation, the second and third years, they're wishing all of the first years good luck. On the way to the Gauntlet, Dane makes one more plea to get Vi to change her mind and go run into the scribes. He asks her what changed between Parapet and now, and she responds,
Well, yeah. I mean, out of all the stuff that she's done, she is not the same person as she was coming in.
yeah. And the fact that he doesn't see it just shows how little he thinks of her.
Yeah.
You know, the way I think of it is he thinks that she is there for him.
Yeah.
And that's it. It doesn't go both ways.
Yeah, I can see that.
But,
I think the year of him being away from her is what did it in for him.
Possibly.
I really do. I think the year of him being in the Writer's Quadrant without her, where he's no longer having to run her to Nolan or to whoever's mending her, gave him the ability to
become an arrogant ass.
Yeah. Your words, not mine. More in my mind, it's more of him being able to grow up without having somebody that he has to look for.
Huh?
I mean, because up to this point, he's had to watch her to get her back, and he gets 1 year where he can focus on himself.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't have to worry about this person needs to be carried to this. This person needs to be carried to this. I need to make sure that she doesn't fall from the tree and completely shattered in a million pieces.
At the same time, though, you could put up a good argument that he's always been that way too.
Yeah.
But because if he was really looking out for her, he wouldn't have been taking her to climb a tree that she could fall out.
Yeah.
If he was really protecting her,
how much of it
that was safer for her.
How much of it comes from his parents? Because his parents are the one that work directly for her mom.
Mm-hmm.
And if they're a year apart in age, roughly. I mean, don't really know, but from the book-wise, they're about a year apart in age. How much of the pressure is coming from his parents to keep an eye on growing up?
Yeah. I mean,
not in this situation, but growing up, it wouldn't surprise me that his dad was constant. You need to watch her. You need to make sure she's doing the right thing, because
I can see that having been at first, but then after so long that it becomes second nature.
Yeah.
But yeah. So
Puts us to chapter 11. The only thing that drove me crazy at chapter 10, outside of that, is the green dragon flying over. That's an asshole move by a dragon. They're running the gauntlet. They're practicing the gauntlet. Fly over at that time and distract.
All it did was just weed him out.
Yeah, but still, just out of all the ways to weed a person out, let's not do it when they're actually trying to, practice for something. Fly over when they're doing the final run, not while they're trying to practice for the final.
I get you. I get you. So,
I guess this is at chapter 11, right?
yes, we are. We've already started it.
Okay.
Vi uses a rope to get up the chimney. Then she pulls out a dagger that she brought from home, and she takes a running start, jumps, and plunges the dagger into the final obstacle, the ramp.
Mm-hmm.
And then uses it as a step to get up the rest of the way.
Yeah.
Once she gets over it, she leans over, pulls the knife out, and Ree comes running up to her that she did it, she made it, all of that. But Amber Mavis starts screaming that Vi cheated. Garrick, who is a Mark one,
Mm-hmm.
he defends Vi. And he tells Amber that he doesn't appreciate her calling one of his, people in his section a cheater.
Mm-hmm.
But if you remember, Garrick also defended her under the tree.
Yeah.
I
think Zayden's got a group of the marked ones. Like Zayden trusts the marked ones because they're all marked. Mm-hmm. And that creates a bond. Mm-hmm. And that's hard to be broken. But at the same time, you've got levels to that bond. Like, with any kind of situation, everybody's going to be grouped together. Like, if you're all working the same spot, you're going to be protective over the people you work with, if you're close. But if you were to break down those people that you were close with and who you worked with, you're going to have people that are like, oh, we can lose that person, but this person needs to say it. And Satan's got a group inside the marked ones that he fully trusts. Like, he's going to trust the marked ones, but there's going to be certain things that he's going to tell people closer that he fully trusts. And Garrett's one of those people that he fully trusts.
Well, he's known Garrett since they were kids.
What, isn't Garrett his cousin?
No, Bodie is.
Bodie, okay.
Garrett, we find out later that Garrett's dad was his father's name.
Okay.
So essentially, Garrett is his dad.
Yeah.
Just trustworthy.
Yeah.
So,
and that's the thing with this one. With Garrett sending up to Amber, Garrett's the one that knows just a little bit more than the rest of the Mark ones do.
Yeah. So, Zayden demands that Vi defend herself, and she uses the Codex to defend herself.
Because she's a freaking genius.
And she recites a section of the Codex where it states that any item that a rider carries across the parapet becomes a part of that person. And as she's reciting the Codex, Amber cuts in about how, are you quoting the Codex to me? Mm-hmm. And it's all.
Because Amber's a 2-year, right?
I think she's either 2 or 3. I want to say she's a 3rd year. I don't remember off the top of my head.
Because I know she's not a 1 year.
Yeah, absolutely not. But Amber is obsessed with the Codex. Mm-hmm. Her and Dane are really close.
Yeah.
And I think, he never came out and said it, but he's hinted that
he comes out at it later on.
Yeah, that they had something going on.
Because he mentions it he mentions it at the start, but he really mentions it after they've been through the threshing.
But she's insulted that Violet is quoting the Codex to her.
Yeah.
And, but Violet, she proves herself with the Codex, and Zayden accepts it. And, she's sitting there going on, Zayden tells Amber she's got you. And Amber's like, on a technicality. And
Yeah, but it's
Zayden,
an important technicality.
yeah. And Zayden was like, she still has you. Doesn't matter.
What sucks with her, with Amber, is the fact that I'm far enough into the book to know what happens.
Mm-hmm.
And out of all the mountains that she should be sitting on, this is not it.
This isn't a mountain Amber should be standing.
Yeah. Because the sad thing is I'm far enough in this book to know what happens to her. And out of all the fights that she could have possibly picked, this was not the fight to pick.
No, but Amber is Amber, and she believes that Violet cheated by using the dagger and the rope, and
when in reality she didn't.
Yeah. She also doesn't like the fact that Violet used the Codex to prove her side. And she actually tries to insult Violet by, saying, you think like a scribe.
Yeah.
And, it's an insult coming out of Amber's mouth, but Violet receives it as a compliment.
Yeah.
So Amber needs to learn how to insult people because she's bad at it. So, yeah. Violet ends up making it up the gauntlet. Swimmingly. The last two obstacles she had never done.
That's because her morals in the previous chapter really kicked in.
Well, in the previous chapter, she had that conversation with Zayden, and
she carries the one that died's ashes to the top for it. Like, she never finishes it in the practice, but her morals really kicked in from carrying her team member to work.
Yeah. She struggled.
That's why I say that dragon was next. Because out of all the times to fly over, that was not the time to fly over.
Yeah.
The dragons know when they're doing stuff for it. And to watch, out of all the ones she's watched die, to know that one had been trained her entire life, because she had talked about how her dad had built that in the backyard, so she knew that she could do that with her eyes closed.
Oh, yeah.
But to have a dragon fly over and cause the issue, that's the only reason that she died. It wasn't the fact that she couldn't do it, it's just the fact that you had this massive dragon flying over.
She was saw.
I bet.
But, with chapter 11, though, when Dane needs to stop trying to convince Violet to leave the school.
Well, he should have stopped earlier on.
And kudos to Violet for recognizing that she missed.
She hadn't thought outside the box to get up that gauntlet, and she would have never made it. The fact that she was able to think of that, it took Zayden telling her to think outside the box.
Yeah.
As smart as she is, I don't think she would have figured that out on her own.
She would have, but at that particular point in time, she was struggling because of work.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Really not died.
She probably would have figured it out, but with everything that was going on, she would have never figured it out.
Yeah.
Not with a push from the outside.
Yeah. So, alrighty, the last chapter of the night. Excuse me. Derek advises all of the cadets to stay 7 feet apart while they're walking for presentation. Another person recommends they talk. They start walking And Tynan is, of course, being an ass. And then Violet notices that Ree is nervous, so she starts asking Ree questions about her sister and the baby to try and distract her. And then, Ree expresses her feelings that Violet didn't mention her idea to use the rope or the dagger. And Violet was kind of a little bit sore about it. And they make a deal with each other that they will ask each other for help if the other person can provide help. Of course, Tynan the whole time is just being a douchebag. When they get to the end of all of the dragons, there sits a Feathertail.
Mm-hmm.
And I find it kind of interesting that there's a Feathertail.
The golden dragon.
That is there in line, with the other dragons at presentation.
Mm-hmm.
And while Violet was practicing for the Gauntlet, she was reciting facts about Feathertails.
Boy, when we get to the Signets,
Yes, it will. So Tynan and Luca, they're hurling insults about this Feathertail. And of course, by tries to defend it. And then Tynan says that somebody should kill it before it has a chance to bond. And, they're sitting there going on about how it's unnatural.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't even, have the color of an actual dragon.
Yeah.
They're just being terrible people. And they start walking back. And Reese says, she makes the comment, like, this isn't stressful enough without you guys hurling insults at them. So, of course, Vi being her, she's trying to, lighten the mood and distract Ree and get them off of the insults to the dragons, considering, all things considered. And she brings up Venom and Wyvern and, folklore. And then Prior, the kid that's indecisive, he gets incinerated. And then a couple of dragons approach Vi, sniffing her, and she, realizes, they smell Tynan. And she explains to him that she's Mira's sister, and Mira had put together this armor with tiny scales in it, and all of that. And they're like, okay, cool. And they leave her alone, And, of course, Luca's in the back, I thought that they were going to eat you. I wouldn't blame them for it just being, stupid.
Just think yourself.
Yeah. So she ends up getting incinerated. And I think it's Riddick that says, I guess the dragons found her insufferable too, So yeah, Luca's gone, Prior's gone. I think they've lost now.
You lost 3.
Or yeah, 3 people.
Their squad lost 3 because what sucks is they did so well keeping their squad together up to these last 2 chapters.
Yeah.
They lost 1 straight out of the Gauntlet, and then they lost 2 in the presentation. And that's what sucks. Because they did so well. They hadn't lost anybody up to these last 2 chapters.
2 of them, you really didn't. I mean, the one that was indecisive, he's indecisive.
That was going to happen.
But The
If he had,
main group, they never had anything.
yeah, if
Everybody liked Orally. And then Luca, not many people liked her.
yeah,
Heinen maybe, but
if they had, if he hadn't have been incinerated, if Orca or
Luca was incinerated.
no, the other one,
Right.
Pryor. If Pryor hadn't been incinerated, he wouldn't have gotten the job.
No.
He was too indecisive for it.
Mm-hmm.
What kills me in this one is you have so many people mocking that golden dragon
Mm-hmm.
that get away. Because Luca's the only one that dies from it. What was it, Luca?
Luca was one of the ones that was insulting.
Yeah.
And
She was the one. Yeah. But you, like, that's what kind of got me. It was like, you have a group of people that are insulting the dragon, and only one of them dies.
Mm-hmm.
Now, all right, the other thing is you guys bear with me, because at chapter 12, I had only gotten to chapter 12. Even though I'm at 27 now, at this point, I had only got to chapter 12. What the note that I had put was, were the two green dragons doing an inspection for the gold dragon? Because I didn't know what was coming later. I know what's coming later now, but at this time, and I still think it's interesting, is were those two green dragons inspecting for the golden dragon?
Yeah.
Right. They can smell tiny, but with the amount of time they put in smelling tiny, with not knowing what the gold dragon truly is, and everything about the gold dragon and what happens later, you could really think that the golden dragon is fully mature to where it's supposed to be bonded. And that
nobody knows anything about, Feathertail.
And how few there are.
Mm-hmm.
That
nobody is in very few.
Right. And that, so you, like, it's not surprising that you have two green dragons approach her. Like, yeah, they're sniffing her because they smell tiny, but it's not that far-fetched that they could have been inspecting her for the gold dragon, for the feather tail.
I mean, I could see how you would get, how you could go that direction.
I mean, with stopping at chapter 12.
Yeah.
Because, like, once you get past chapter 12, you realize what's actually going on. But at chapter 12, it is like, when I stopped there, because we had planned on stopping here, I was like, they've got to be doing it for the Feathertail. None of the other dragons care. Like, yes, they smell tiny on her. And she explains why they smell tiny. And you see that they actually listen to her, but they're not communicating to her. But it had to have been for the Feathertail.
I could see how you. All right. Well, that concludes chapter 1.
We did it. We made a first episode, a full first episode.
I wonder how long it is, because I'm pretty sure we've been at this for a few.
Well, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. But we actually made our first episode.
Yeah.
And we got to chapter 12.
Now we get to find out how much was more actually recorded.
So we'll do 13 to 24 on the next one.
Yep.
And then we're planning on dropping these every Tuesday, Wednesday, right?
I don't know. You're the one that does.
No,
Because you're the one that knows the computer.
I think we're dropping these every Tuesday or Wednesday. 4.
But thanks for watching.
Thanks. If y'all have any questions, hit us up. Bye.